In unity, we believe in one power and one presence, God the good omnipotence. We see God as love, wisdom, and divine mind. We honor all spiritual practices and the diversity of paths that lead to enlightenment and awakening. We believe that we're born blessed, and through meditation, affirmation, and prayer, we remember this truth. And it is through the law of mind action that we create harmony and unity in our lives and in our world. If you're here for the first time, we just want to welcome you again, and we have a welcome table. So after the service, if you feel comfortable, come on over and talk to everybody, and definitely stay for the potluck cookout. And if you have someone that might be scared of church, that could be a good way to invite them. Just invite them to the cookout part. That's okay. We won't tell anybody. So I love old things. I really love old things. And I have a fancy pantry that's going into my house. My pantry helper might not think this is the coolest thing. I don't know. But this comes from an old Singer sewing machine, right? And I keep my little like coffee packets and little spoons and little things in here. And I have like different things. And I pull out drawers and things that other people might throw away. I like to keep them. And I was recently kind of packing my stuff for my new place, and it came to this, and there was this wire in there, and it was sitting like this, you know, just sitting half up, because it's a drawer, right? And so it was sitting like this, and I thought, you know, I should take that out. That's not a necessary piece for me, right? So I took it out, and then it got kind of stuck in there. I was tempted to get a little violent with it, you know? And I was like, And all of a sudden, as I was pulling on it, I realized someone put it there. A long time ago, someone put it there. And probably no one has touched this spot since that person put it there. And knowing the time, maybe someone put it there by hand, right? And then I realized that as I'm taking it out, I realized I slowed down. And I realized I'm connecting with someone's fingerprints. Someone that's in their freedom form. Someone that's not here anymore. And everything is holy now. Becomes more than a box. Becomes a moment, and a moment of acknowledgement. That was someone's dad, probably someone's uncle, someone's brother, someone's son, someone's grandfather. And I got to pause for a moment and thank him and remember him as I pulled out the wire. How many times in life do we breeze through things and breeze by things, missing what's right in front of us? Missing the holy moments, the sacred now. Because we're going about and we're moving things and we're doing things and we're rushing and we're filling lists and we're sitting in front of computers and we're checking things off or we're scrolling our Facebook, whatever it is, right? We're just moving, we're doing, we're moving, we're doing, repeat. Is there another way to live? There is. There's another way to live. There's a way to live where we get in touch with the truth that everything is holy now. There's a way to live where we can breathe into the divine appointments and recognize the fingerprints, recognize the craft of life. So I stop sometimes and I approach things with reverence. Can we stop and approach things with reverence and recognize how that changes the human condition and elevates it to a spiritual practice of mindfulness? I was recently at a retreat at the Sisters of Laredo. It happened to be that as I was leaving for the airport, I got the news that the Pope made his transition. In unity, that means he died. Some people don't know that, so they say we need to say that, say what it is. So, I mean, I know you know the Pope died, but so as I was getting ready for this retreat, I realized I was flying out, right, to a place that was part of my history as growing up Catholic. And I thought, oh, that's sacred. And one of the things that happened when I was there was that we have these little dorm rooms, kind of just rooms. And there was actually no room for me. That's happened a lot, actually. That's how I got to be your roommate. There was no room for me at the inn. And everyone has their own rooms, right? And you're there for a week with a bunch of ministers and, And so anyway, my Martha, who's really your Martha and your Martha, if you don't know Martha Creek, you'll get to know her. But Martha said, you can be with me, sweetheart. Are you okay with that? And I was like, yeah, I'm good with that, roomie. And then she ditched me for another roomie who is also cool. But I got placed in this room. I literally opened the door and went through each room. And I was like, because they're like, there's a door open, and that will be your room. And I went through every one, and each one there's bags. Each one there's someone else's bags. Someone else's bag. Someone could be tempted to feel like they don't belong in a situation like that, right? Right? If you don't understand the hidden curriculum, if you don't understand everything is holy now, if we don't have a practice of mindfulness, it's easy, right, to go, I don't belong. There's a sign I don't belong, right? I've played a lot of the tune I don't belong, but I wasn't playing it that day. It's my tribe, right? So I was like, I belong even if I belong on the couch or the bed next to you. I belong. Scooch over. So I'm going through the hallway, and they're all, they've got things. Martha gets me my situation, and I have a room, and it has 2 beds. Thank you. And I tell everybody, I do heavy breathing when I'm sleeping. It's called like heavy breathing. Other people call it snoring. But it's not snoring, it's just heavy breathing. It's just a little loud, a little bit. And so I told my roomie that. She said she's fine. It's okay. I don't know if she was that too, or if she just is hard of hearing or just very gracious, but she was fine. But the thing about this room that I got is that I walked into the room, and when I came out of the room, there's a wall right when you come out of the room. I didn't bring a picture of it today, but on that wall were symbols, sacred symbols. And I realized it was like a prayer wall, like a portal. I realized it was like an altar, but on a wall. And I thought, with my overly creative mind, I'm going to do that in my new house. I'm going to make myself a prayer wall, because for my brain style, if it's in a cabinet, or even if it's on something and not looking at me, it doesn't exist. So I was like, I never thought about that. A prayer wall? How cool. And so I started thinking of then, it was just a prayer wall, but as I went through the week, it turns into a prayer portal wall where now I'm going to invite all my sacred people, like the people that I call for prayer. Who are the people that you call to lift you up? And you might not call it prayer. You might call it freaking out. You might call it, your quivery voice, but who answers the phone when you've got your quivery voice? Who lifts you up and holds you up when you're falling apart? Who grabs this Ziploc and sticks you in it and carries you around until you can carry yourself around again, right? And so I thought, those partners for me, those prayer partners, those people, for me, I'm going to do something sacred. I'm going to get double of everything on my prayer wall. One for myself, one for them. One of my ladies is here today, and I texted her a picture, and I said, do you like this? No other information. Do you like this? She said, ooh, yeah, I like that. I said, good. And in my mind, I said, that's going to be on the prayer wall. So that when I look at my prayer wall, I not only connect with Source, but I connect with the life, intelligence, substance moving through the beloveds that support me on this path, right? So I've got that plan, and then fast forward to this Soul Shine Renewal Week. And one of our beloveds here is an artist. She might need tissues. She will need tissues. And we get in the car to go to dinner last night for Soul Shine, and she's so excited. She's always excited. She's got a lot to share. She's overflowing with love. And she said, I have gifts for you guys. Reverend Brenda and I were in the back seat, and she said, I have gifts for you guys. And she picks mine out, and she hands it to me. I don't know if you can see it, if live streamers can see it, but if you can't see it, it is her art, and it is a turquoise giraffe, and it's like a mama and a baby nuzzling each other. And she says, yes, this is for you. And I was just like, oh. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, this like looks familiar. And I don't remember, you guys might remember, which happened first or second. I don't know if I said something about Georgia or you said something about Chrissy. But I think maybe Chrissy. We have a prayer chaplain team. You know this, right? If you're a member, you get a prayer call once a month. And I get one too. And you can opt for texts. I get texts because I don't answer the phone. So she sends me texts. And you don't have to reply or anything. Every once in a while, I go back and I heart them all or whatever. But Chrissy sends me prayers. And, well, I can't tell jokes and I can't really tell stories, so I just kind of blew the story. But here's what, yeah, I know your name. I was just, yeah, but thank you. That's very helpful. Here's what Tina said. I did actually have a moment, and I called her Teresa earlier in the day because we've got a lot of Teresa going on. So Tina says, you know who has the original? Chrissy, my prayer partner. My prayer partner has the original painting of this. What I didn't think of for my prayer wall was including my spiritual community. I didn't have like a person from here. And now we'll have this little cup, and on my prayer wall, you know, those little tiny shelves, and there will be a mug on it. And this will help me remember that it's all connected. And then, you know what else? Mark, can you show us the slide? So this is Tina. This is me texting Chrissy and her showing me the piece of art and where it is. And do you see this shirt? Do you know who that is? This is a shirt that I've kept for too long, and it's too small, but I keep sticking it on her because I just love it. And it's a giraffe with turquoise. You can't orchestrate this stuff. But what we can do is open our hearts and open our eyes to take off the blinders and to recognize in whatever way that Source speaks to us and through us and for us and around us, that it weaves together. The holy moment, yeah? So I received it with reverence. The singer drawer, I approached it with reverence. The mug, I received it with reverence. And then last night, we were playing a game called My Word at Soul Brew Cafe, which is like the evening culmination for the renewal week for people who are in town for the renewal weekend. And so we're playing that, and I got permission to share these stories, by the way. We're playing that, and Vern Anderson, who has been around Unity forever, he's been here since I've been, way before I've been here. And then he also used to walk these grounds as a little kid. His dad worked here, and he was here as a little boy. And like even just the way that I sat here and went like this, you know, I went like this, and I touched this wire, and I was like, oh, wait. When he shared his story during Soul Brew Cafe about being here as a kid, I saw little Vern, like little 10-year-old Vern. He's not in here right now, so you can find him later and say, I heard your story. He was going to try to hurry back for it. But he's cooking burgers and hot dogs for everyone. And so Vern got the question. It was something about, is there anything that you need help with? Is that the question? Does anyone have a clarification of that question? Yeah. Tell us something you need help with. The questions are about all different things. And he could have asked for anything. I mean, we had an accountant there. You know, he could have asked for anything, like my taxes. That's what I would have asked for, my taxes. And he said, I'd like help with the men of Unity. Mm-hmm. And he's been holding the space for the men of Unity for a long time, and sometimes it's just 3 people. And he said, I don't know if it's time to let it go, or if it's time to, you know, find another Unity Center and join with that one and go, you know, okay, with Overland Park. Or the sisters graciously have invited us to just attend their meetings with them so that we can just have the meeting, and as it grows, you know, we'll just all be one, you know. And so he was in discernment about that. So what we did within the game is we just paused and we just sent around the phone to record, and we each gave our ideas and our support. And one of my pieces of support, just a side note here, was that I said, I'm not a man of unity, but if the men would have me, I would love to have a breakfast once a month, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday morning, wherever, like at a Denny's or someplace that a bunch of men go to just sit around a table and have breakfast and coffee, And I would love to do that to support our men of unity, because we have incredible men in unity. So we visioned and we came up with some really cool ideas. One of them is a retreat, a men's retreat. And all of the men, which there were more men at the renewal than there ever have been before, I think there were 5 or 6, maybe 7, but all of the men said they would come to the retreat and they would put it on. And I said, well, if you get your ticket right now, if you say you're going to come right now, then and you work on it, you go for free. So we came up with these ideas. And they're beautiful and they're exciting. But I think Vern was feeling kind of down about it, right, Carol, before that? Like, have you ever had something where you're just holding a ball, or you're at the campfire just blowing on the light, trying to keep the flame there? And it seems like there's something wrong. Like you've been doing it for a long time, and it's just like there's nobody around the fire. It's about to go out. Can you feel what I'm saying in your own life? Think about it in your own life. Sometimes it's a marriage. Sometimes it's a parenting thing. Sometimes it's a work thing. Sometimes it's your spirit. Whatever it is. Sometimes it's something with your family. You're the only one that gets people together. Whatever it is, you fill in the blank. You've got something that you have been the torchbearer. You have been the one holding it together, trying to keep it alive. And then you can get a little downtrodden thinking, it's just not happening. Consider the possibility that you're the keeper of the flame, that there's nothing wrong, that everything has a flow, an ebb and a flow in divine time, that it's not a mistake and it's not a problem. But you have a sacred role. A lot of times when we come to these points in our lives and in organizations and in the world, we chop something off and we put out the flame. Unity's done it in our history. In our history, we had the first farm-to-table restaurant probably in the whole Midwest, if not in the United States of America. We had rose-colored glasses on chickens so they wouldn't peck each other to death when they saw blood. And they literally fitted them with little glasses. You can see it in the archives. We made pies, and there was an apple orchard, and it was essentially like organic farming, right? I mean, it was like if it was still going exactly in the same way, we would have been like ahead of the times, 100 years ahead of the time, right? There's a group from Unity Village Chapel that said a number of years ago, I don't know the exact year, Judy will know, but that said we're gonna bring that back. We're gonna plant a seed and we're gonna bring it back. And for years, that group that is now beyond Unity Village Chapel has been bringing it back, and there's a farmer's market, right? There's a farmer's market. Unity used to have a publication. It was called We Wisdom. It was the longest running children's magazine in the nation, maybe in the world. And then there came a time, right, where they took the flame, we took the flame and just put it out. I think it's coming back. It's got some flame keepers that have held it together. The publishing department at Unity disappeared for a while. Like, okay, this isn't making it. It's not making, it's not, there's not a need for it. There's not a demand, right? And so put that out. It came back. Can we understand and recognize there are patterns to things? And I might be talking about examples here, but there are things in our own lives, right, that are the same. Those relationships that hibernate? You know what I'm talking about? There are relationships that hibernate. Don't forget they're out there. I just texted a girlfriend the other day. When I went to ministerial school, we kind of had a little bit of a crunchy, and then we just had a little drifty, and then it turned into like 20 years of Drifty goodbye. I mean, we still, like, when I'm in Colorado, we go, hey. And I had just texted her the other day, because I know all of our hurts are there. And I just texted her the other day, and I said, listen, we're 50. Let's just pick up where we left off as if we never did that. Let's just keep going. Let's fan the flame. Men of Unity is not dead. It's not gone. There were glory days. Like right now, our sisters group, our women's group is very active. It puts on a lot of things, right? A lot of people. But when I came to ministerial school, shy of 30 years old, coming out of just 5 years of teaching, you had to have $10,000 in order to come, because they didn't want anyone that wouldn't be able to sustain themselves. And I cheated, and I asked my mom, can I borrow a little money and put it in my bank account just in case they check? I lied getting into ministerial school. Just realized that right now. And then I was like, and I'll give it back right after, but just in case they check on the money thing. I'm really good with money, but, I have only been working for 5 years as a teacher, making $23,500 in Colorado. I don't have $10,000 saved, but I know I can go to ministerial school. So when I got here, I didn't have a lot of money, to say the least, and I had applied for some scholarship, and I got a no. And then I got this other thing, and it was like this Men of Unity thing from Unity Village Chapel. Remember this, Bob? And I got this note saying, you are one of the recipients of the Men of Unity Scholarship. And then it went on to say they've never had a female before. They always only support men, because the sisters or the women's group maybe sometimes supported a woman. But the women's group at the time was so piddly that they never had any money, and they never had any people, and they couldn't support a female ministerial student. So the men said, we'll take on two. We'll take on a male, and we'll take on a female. And I was the first female. And so they paid for my books, and I didn't even know, I mean, I wouldn't have applied, but somehow I got applied. My financial record applied me. And so they paid for my books for every term. They paid for all of those supplies for every semester. And there are a bunch of us that were supported by them. For years, they took on ministerial students. Now, flashback, I don't have anything to do with Unity Village Chapel. It's just the church on grounds of the village. So Men of Unity for years and years and years supported ministerial students who were all out there in the field going to school. And I was scared at the time, because they also told me I had to be the prayer chaplain. Part of it was like an exchange. They're like, you have to be the prayer chaplain for the men's group. And I was like, I don't have a lot of familiarity with men. I'm a woman's woman. Like, go with a group of women? Sure. Like, I had a couple of guy friends from college, and, and it was, I mean, they're good friends. They're not watching, but they're good friends. But, like, I don't know, I didn't have relationships with men, So I was a little scared, a lot of scared, actually. I was like, but I had to do it, because it was, like, part of the deal. And I learned about men. And I learned about the amazing men that are in Unity. I learned about their hearts. I learned about how they process. I learned about how they laugh and make everything funny and fun. I learned about how they keep sometimes the conversation up here, but then they keep the heart right here and totally open. Thanks, Tina. But I learned how to be in community with men through the Men of Unity. So when we think a flame has gone out in our own lives, anywhere, let us consider that there is a story, there is a history, and there is a calling in the now moment. And if it comes to you to be a flame keeper, know that it's a sacred right. Each one of us here now, alive on this planet today, are here for that same divine appointment. It's a sacred time. Nothing's wrong. I know that's a bad thing to say right now. Nothing's wrong. But it's a sacred time. And we are flame keepers. So, can we approach everything with reverence? Can we receive with reverence? And can we acknowledge that we're here to steward with reverence? Know your history. Know your now. Know your legacy. Know yourself. Know your community. Know your source. Know your wholeness. Know your being. Know your belonging. Know your oneness. Impact, don't worry about that. Don't even try for it. It's not worth it. It has a life of its own. If it's needed, it'll happen. If it's not, it won't. It's an emergence. It comes from being present to what is before you. Your feet have landed on this planet for this exact time. You are whole. You belong. You are one. So now, after the service, when you walk onto that lawn out there, I want you to think about whose feet were on that lawn 100 years ago. I want you to think about the people that played instruments there, that cooked the food there, the kids that ran and laughed there. We are whole. We all belong. We are holy. Everything's a miracle. Namaste.